afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second webinar. And this one is titled Unlocking Entrepreneurship in the Digital Age. Very excited to share this with you. But this time around, I'm actually not alone, and I'm excited that I'm with Musa Skosana, who's our guest today. Musa is the SME Cloud Manager at MTN. And just a little bit of information about Musa himself. He's very passionate about cloud technology, as well as how it can rescue and evolve SME businesses. And this is actually why Musa is going to take part in this conversation. He's got some insights to share and some nuggets around cloud, the digital, and how us as entrepreneurs and small businesses can utilize technology to leverage just the benefits of technology, and that essentially would help us grow. He's currently, as I said, the SME Cloud Product Manager at MTN Business, where he builds cloud solutions to solve entrepreneurial challenges, which is our challenges. He's previously held similar positions in the distribution space, having previously worked for other global entities such as Westcon Group, as well as First Distribution. So that's Musa, who's going to be the guest. I'll then start first. My name is Lindile Xoko, for those that don't know me on this particular call. I am the Group Chief Revenue Officer at Prime Media, the group which is one of the biggest and best media organizations in the continent, with assets across radio, us owning radio stations 947, 702, Cape Talk, KFM, as well as Eyewitness News, and we've got the biggest network of static billboards as well as digital billboards as well, including assets of platforms in retail as well. My other roles, I wear many different hats. I'm also the founder of Exponential Academy, and the reason why I've started Exponential Academy is I've looked at the state of play in South Africa. Therefore, this is our contribution, because we do know that entrepreneurs are faced with a lot of challenges in the country. And within my career, which spans over 24 years now in entrepreneurship, using some of those learnings and insights to pass them on to entrepreneurs. So to short circuit the learning process, as well as to reduce the school fees. As we know, we call that in entrepreneurship school fees, to reduce that as much as possible, to equip and empower and enable entrepreneurs in all walks of life. And entrepreneurs, we find them in corporates, we find them running their own businesses, or we find them still at ideation stages. And we are here, or I'm here in particular, to empower all of them as much as possible. The last time I looked at the statistics of South Africa with regards to this particular segment and sector, it's a sector that contributes just 35% of the GDP, but employs more than 90% of the country's workforce. And therefore, the sustainability of small business and entrepreneurs is a passion point of mine, and therefore I'd like to impart that knowledge as much as possible. So in our second webinar, we then decided that we're going to discuss unlocking entrepreneurship in the digital age. And the reason that we're going to talk about this one in particular is where we are in the market. I call this the attention economy. It's the creator economy, where content is absolutely key, and obviously digital as a way to consume that content is absolutely important. Some of you may have heard me sharing this. There's a Cantor report that came out around July that said actually 85% of communication fails to land in the attention threshold of most consumers. But then when I ask people, do we know what that attention threshold is for consumers out there? People get startled and surprised when I actually share that the attention threshold that we try to aim for is 8 seconds. And therefore, how does entrepreneurship, in any line of business that you may be, you could be in service, you could be in product, or any vertical that you're in, you need to have clarity of your value proposition in such a way that when you communicate that, it lands within that attention threshold. And I'll share some tips and advice for you when it comes to this. Let me just ask my team to just share the presentation so I can just take you through that quickly. Thank you very much. Therefore, starting is, I also studied a Harvard course that also spoke about this, but it's also a research that I've done for myself in terms of what creates sustainable organizations, especially for us as entrepreneurs and small businesses. And it all speaks to the ecosystem that you build around you. The Harvard calls these organizational gaps. But you have to create an ecosystem of sustainable success. And there's key elements that you need there for either your business or your organization to thrive, or the sector needs to create that. But we're in the age of self-provision, where we have to self-provide a lot of these things in a country that's still grappling to find its identity 2 decades onwards from democracy when it comes to empowering small businesses in particular. They haven't nailed this 100%. And I can tell this to the government face to face, is they just haven't learned it. But the next slide will share what's that ecosystem. And my encouragement for you as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, or any size of the business actually, is to create your own sustainable ecosystem of success. And it has these following elements. If you can switch to the next slide. Those elements are, let me just switch to the next slide, are as follows. So one, you need technology and great access to technology that's not too expensive. So it's easily accessible, easy to use, but also it's sustainable in that it won't break, and it's seamless in how it functions, because you can then create a bedrock for your organization by automation, which saves operational cost and drives cost of sales. This will then grow your margins as a business if you can optimize as much as possible. So technology is a key component in that, in running an organization in this day and age. So you look at technology from an optimization point of view, but more so also channels of distribution, which is something I'll touch on a little bit later. Access to information and the right type of information. And hence, as I said in this introduction, is the reduction of school fees is what I'm doing this for, is to give as many entrepreneurs as I possibly can, which is my purpose, the right information at the right time so that they don't have to learn hard, because they call them school fees because any failing in business costs time and it costs money. And therefore, access to the right information will equip you to make the right decisions at the right time. So that gives you the efficiency to get to the objectives that you need to quite quickly. So create an environment that gets you information is absolutely important. Also skills, the right type of skills. I learned in my first big business that I ran is, as an entrepreneur, we try to wear many different hats and do many different things, because you're thinking that's going to save costs. And I want to encourage you that that's actually the very opposite, because good skills, good quality experience skills actually self-liquidate and they end up paying for themselves. And actually someone advised me once they'd seen me slogging and working so hard to then say, actually hire at the right type of skills in your business, even before you think you can afford them, because most of the time they'll actually afford themselves. And it's a leap that us as entrepreneurs, we struggle to make. And therefore, I'd encourage you to acquire the right skills. But once you've acquired your team and you've built it, you must continually build that, getting courses, continually studying certifications and all of that, just to make sure that you're keeping up with the market, you're keeping up with the demands of your business as you scale as well. My apologies, this is just the power has just come out, but you'll see, I think the backup should come up in a moment. So apologies for that. Now, the other thing that a business needs is cash, and a lot of cash. So be willing to invest in your organization, applying your own cash, even before you go to the lenders and all of that. And I call this in the book, I've written a book called The Young Entrepreneur's Playbook, Using Failure as a Shortcut to Success. And essentially, I talk about it. The third chapter is that invest in your own ideas. That means invest in yourself before asking anyone else to invest in you. But always be in a cash positive position in your organization, because even in tough economic times, if you're in a cash positive position, you then become, you are at a greater advantage, because you can absorb the hurt, because debt is expensive. Debt is extremely expensive. Cash is expensive, but it's less expensive than debt. So try to do that, and you can get yourself into an advantage if you're in a cash positive organization. But also convert your cash into assets, which is now actually the most profitable thing that you can actually do for your organization. So get rid of debt. Do not have debt. Be in a cash positive position. But once you are, build assets. That's what businesses are all about. Making sure that your bottom line grows and converting that into assets. The fifth element is partners. So as entrepreneurs, there's things that we're good at, and there's things that we're not good at. We all have blind spots. We all have weak areas of execution. So always make sure that you partner with the right type of organization or skill or entrepreneur to be able to expand your capability or capacity to deliver all of these elements. I also talk about this in the book, so that you don't spend a lot of time burning trying to learn a difficult skill that is not natural to you or your organization, but rather partner with an organization that can actually expand your capability to deliver the value that you need to deliver for your clients, because it's all about delivering that. And therefore, if you can partner, it's highly advisable. And the other thing that I'd actually advise is never look at yourself in a way that you think that there's an organization or a person out there that you cannot partner with. You'll be surprised, if you're willing to have the conversation, how many entities would be willing to partner, even for you as a small business, as an entrepreneur. For example, we've got Musa here from MTN. One, you can partner with MTN, because I do know that they've got quite an expansive partner and project and a partner ecosystem. Because they themselves need smaller organizations or other types of organizations to expand their capabilities as well. So smaller companies can actually partner with big organizations. So you can go to any entity if you think that there's a mutual benefit between those entities that actually helps those. And Deloitte, no, I think my bad. Let me correct. It's an Accenture digital report that came out a couple of years ago that says a lot of growth from big businesses is actually going to come from them partnering with smaller organizations. So my apologies there for quoting the wrong entity there. And therefore, always look to partner to optimize even your own entity. And then the last element is diverse markets. This is an important one. Is that once you've defined your core value and your core value proposition that you deliver in the market for any type of segment that you deliver to, and that's running, and it's got the run rate, and you've got the revenue that's growing, always look to diversify your position. And especially if you're approaching or you're operating in a mature market, or you're approaching saturation, or you think that your growth is quite high in your core, that's exactly at the time that you need to diversify your position, because market conditions change. And when market conditions change and it impacts your core value proposition, it actually takes out your business. This is why we have got such a high failure rate of small business, or at least one of the other reasons that why we've got such a high failure rate of small businesses in this country is not being able to diversify segments or value propositions or client types or any of that kind of stuff, so that if you're depending on one segment, on one product, when that gets hit, it takes you out completely, that you can't recover. It also goes back to that whole notion of multiple income streams. And in the first webinar that I shared, I said aim for 3 on your way to 7 income streams. That applies for you as an entrepreneur, as a business as well. Is that multiply your income streams by diversifying, get a different service or different product or a different segment that you operate in, so that if the one you're in is under pressure, you can subsidize it by growing in another segment. And that's how growth is essentially achieved. So this is the ecosystem that you then need to create for yourself, especially in this ecosystem or in this market of the attention economy and the digital economy that we're in. Technology, access to the right information, the right skills that you continually evolve and grow, being a cash positive that you convert to assets, partner for scale, and diversify your position so that you can de-risk against market changes as well, is absolutely critical. And then what's the winner circle that I talk about? In terms of when you're starting to build your value proposition, you need to now know the context of which you operate in, and I call this the winner circle. Is that Have clarity as to what your core value proposition is that you deliver for the client base that you're delivering it to. And I'll tell you on how you then connect that to the relevant party at the right time using technology as well. Hence, we're saying unlocking entrepreneurship in the digital age. Then you must build an organization around that value proposition. It's not enough to just have a good product. Some people have a good idea and they think that they're in business. Some people have a great product and they think that they're in business. None of those things qualify you for business at all. So build a business and an organization around that has a value chain, that has all of these aspects that allows you to deliver that value to your community, which is then the next layer and the next circle outside of that, which is your customers and community. And the advice that I'd give is that in order for you to be able to have customers, especially ones that are really sticky, they're dedicated to you, is that you must treat them as a community. This is your community. This is the value that you deliver to that community. If you build a community around your value proposition, you essentially build a moat, because this community will iterate your value proposition with you. When it gets stale, they'll say, but we're looking for this from you, and all of that kind of stuff. And you'll continue to grow and evolve the ebbs and flows of business with that community. And that community, when you're having a tough time, they'll be there for you. So don't look at them as just customers. Look at them as your community as well. So core value, that must be clear. Then build an organization to deliver that value to your community. And then you must always be mindful of the outer circle of the full market in terms of what is the full extent of that particular market. Because once you find your community, all you now need to do over time is to grow that community so that you take a dominant position in that particular market, so that you may start as an entrepreneur that starts a small business, but that small business shouldn't essentially be a small business forever. You must set a timeline to when you're going to actually get to medium size, to get to large, to get to extra large, until you get to the size that you eventually want. And that takes being fully aware and mindful of what your full market is, so that you continually try different initiatives for you to grow your client base continually, so that your revenues grow and follow suit as well. So this is the winner circle. Understand your core value, build an organization around it, build your community around that organization and that value proposition. Be mindful of the full context of the market and continually aim to take a dominant position in that. And that's how these big organizations do it. This is how we do it when we're applying the playbooks that we apply in these entities to take them to the next level. But here's the first thing that you must start with. You may have an idea, you may have a product, and you may have a small business. But if you have a business or you are in business, you must have a business model. If you don't have this, and don't let them first fool you about business plans and all of that, a business plan is not going to work if you don't have a business model. And therefore, what are the components that make a successful business model? It's, as I said, value proposition is absolutely critical. It must be clear, and it must be of value to someone. And those someones must be able to multiply those by millions. And that's how you know that you've got a very good product, is to know how many what the problem you address and how many people that have that particular problem. And therefore, that's how you know that you're in the right type of business. And that's what investors actually look like as well, in terms of the scalability and growth potential of your business. And if you'll notice, venture capitalists and most investors will not invest in an organization that is at the point of saturation, because if they can only derive 2% growth from that company, why are they investing their money in it? So you must also evaluate your business and your value proposition versus its potential. And eventually, when you get into investors and funders and all of that, they look at your market potential and invest in it because of the growth that you could possibly get out of it. And I always tell people that I'm a fan of growth when it comes to this. And I don't like to take anything less than 35% growth in the projects and initiatives that I drive, because that means that, one, you know that there's that much in the market, and one, you just put the efforts to get to that outcome. And all of this is a science. Any outcome and objective that you want to achieve, you can just put in a formula that gets you to that particular outcome. Second, once your value proposition is clear, is distribution. Is you've got a value, then you must distribute it to the people that value benefits. So your distribution network is absolutely critical. And you must have multiple distribution channels. Don't just have the one store or the one online store and you think, oh, okay, I'm selling to this number. Because the principle is that your product or your service must be as close to proximity as the people that it benefits as possible. So give them as many options to access that value proposition as much as possible in multiple distribution channels. You may have an online store, a physical store. You may have salespeople that are hitting the ground running and looking for them, and many others, call centers. There are hundreds and hundreds of different types of channels, and you can innovate new different channels yourself. I've innovated new channels that didn't exist because it's all about taking the value proposition to the recipient in the most efficient and effective manner and cost-effective manner as possible so that that transaction happens. It's all about creating an opportunity for a transaction. So distribution is critical. Then marketing. People need to know what you're selling, what your value proposition is, and where they can get it. That's your distribution model. The marketing is basically you vocalizing and communicating to the people that will benefit from that value, what that value is, what problem it solves, and where they can get it, and how much that costs. That's marketing basically in simple terms. So that's the third element of a business model. The third is customer experience, is make it as easy as possible for that recipient of that value to access that value proposition. Because if you've got a competitor that has the same value proposition, the customer will choose the easiest to them. So the point of parity after price is then which one is easier for me to get. And sometimes customers will overlook price because they'll say, actually, it's easy for me to get it here. And therefore, they'll save me time and the effort. And therefore, it's actually worth me buying a little bit extra to get that efficiency. So customer experience is critical. That's the fourth element of a business model. And then the fifth element, which should actually be the first one, is culture. What is the company culture that you build? And fortunately, culture is built by the entrepreneur, the founder, the CEO, and all of that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, if you don't pay attention to it, a culture will form outside of yourself, and it may be a toxic culture, it may be a slow culture, whatever the case may be. So you must always be deliberate about creating the culture that you want in your organization. And these are the five basic elements of a business model, and you must have a business model in order for you to be to be effective and continue to grow in terms of your organization. Simplify is the next thing that I can ask you to. So as you scale your business, so from idea, it's quite exciting to launch it and make it into reality. The next step is to scale. As now the orders are starting to come, the clients build, and therefore that'll create complexity in itself, because one, there's people doing a lot of different things and all of that. It's all quite exciting. You're growing. Now, complexity retards an organization and therefore retards the revenue of your organization. My thing is now simplify, 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 right? And simplicity also leads to ease, leads to better understanding. I then say the next quote in my book, which I think sums it up quite perfectly in terms of why simplicity is important. I then say, simplicity is at the very heart of success. When you simplify how you view and understand your business, you simplify how your customers see the value that you offer them. Because if it's not easy for you to explain what value you provide, how else do you expect the recipient to understand what in the world it is that you're trying to sell? So simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. This is why fast food chains are as successful as they are, because if you then walk into any of them, I'm not going to mention them here and give them airtime because they need to pay me to mention their names. Is you just see the menu. You walk in, you get to the front desk, and you see the menu there. So you see the starter meals, the upsides, and all of that kind of stuff. And it's so simple to understand. That simplicity of knowing, because you're hungry, you're trying to fill in a void or a hole in your stomach. You just say, okay, I need number 2, I need number 3, I need number 4. They simplify it that way so that they sell. It's fast food for a reason, but it's also fast money for them. You must think of it that way. So simplicity is key. So simplify the way you understand your business so you can simplify how you explain it to other people or how you communicate it to other people so they can understand it easy, the value that you try to offer them there as well. How do you simplify? So the process of simplifying your business is as follows. You start by solving for X. As I said, I talk about this extensively in the book, as well as in the courses at Exponential Academy as well. It actually gives you a breakdown of how to do all of this simplifying for your business as well, because simplicity leads to greater revenues. I then call it solving for X. That's that value proposition that we're talking about. What is it that you actually do? It must be very clear to you. Because if it's not clear in your mind and in your business model, what is it that you actually do every day, every hour of each day, every minute of each hour? What is it that you actually do? And it's crystal clear to you and everyone else around you. It's going to be very difficult for one to engage with you because they won't understand what that's all about. And it's all about making it simple and understandable. Now, the second thing is, this is quite important, is it must be clear, why do you do what you do? Are you solving a problem? There must be a purpose. There must be a reason why that's bigger than even yourself, a higher purpose or something. And therefore, that why is absolutely critical for you to connect with clients. And then the third element in simplifying is, how do you actually do what you do? So you need to answer these very simple questions. What is it that you actually do? Why do you do it? And essentially, how do you do that as well? And then I write here, in terms of the quote by Sam Walton, is that there's only one boss, essentially, and he can fire, or let's say that, and she can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on down, simply by spending her money somewhere else. And therefore, if you haven't simplified and everything is complex and you don't understand it yourself, basically your clients are going to vote with their feet and their wallets, and they're going to just spend it elsewhere. See, now I'm running out of time. I'm going to go through some case studies and some examples of some of these things. So I'm just going to run through some of these models that I talk about in the book as well. So in the digital world, now we can do this, which is sell at the speed of currency, as a concept that I talk about. Selling at the speed of currency is that understanding the environment. When I said it's the attention economy, and the attention threshold is 8 seconds. So people don't have a lot of time. They're looking for instant gratification. They want to move quite quickly. Technology can enable that in terms of selling at the speed of currency. Selling at the speed of currency is your ability for a customer to request something from you, deliver it at the moment they request it, and they give you that money at the same time. So that's how fast the money is moving. Because a person, as soon as they pay, they expect their value to be reciprocated. And therefore, that's selling at the speed of currency, right? The faster the currency is, the faster your service must be. That's this concept here of selling at the speed of currency. And as time goes, next year, 5 years, 10 years from now, we'll see the speed of currency going even faster than it is now. From Uber and all of that kind of stuff, we'll have other services that are moving at much a faster pace. And therefore, you need to be able to reciprocate that. If your product still takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get there, that's slowing down the money, right? And therefore, you need to sell at the speed of currency. Just like Netflix. There's an example that I had when I was living in the UK. I had Netflix, and it was easy to sign up. It took me less than 60 seconds to sign up, but also to cancel when I was coming back in country. I had to cancel because the firewall in South Africa didn't allow Netflix. It would waste the time for me spending all that money. So I canceled Netflix. Took me less than 30 seconds to cancel Netflix. And after that, hardly 5 minutes later, I got a call. They were asking why I was canceling, and I said, well, I'm moving back into South Africa way before. This is quite a long time ago. I'm moving back to South Africa. You guys don't have Netflix there. They said, don't worry, Mr. Xoko, we're going to have Netflix soon in your country, and we're going to give you a special rate because of your loyalty when you were in the UK with us. And I thought that they operated at the speed of currency. Their client service was absolutely amazing. So that experience, to me, I still use them to this day because of exactly that. That's just an example that I like to give you, which speaks to this agility as a competitive edge. I did say customers will vote with their feet in their wallets, and especially if the client experience is not great, which also now speaks to my next example of Airbnb, that agility and the ability to change quite frequently is in the height of COVID. Airbnb lost 86% of their revenue in the space of a week when COVID hit. They had to pivot to get to a position where now they were offering experiences and other products very quickly. So much so that around August last year, they listed one of the biggest listings in the New York Stock Exchange. So from a losing position of losing 86% of your revenue in the space of 7 days to listing last year in one of the biggest listings in the New York Stock Exchange, is that agility. As an entrepreneur and as a small business, you must be able to do that. And as I spoke about it in terms of diversifying your market positions, is that if you're under pressure from one area, you need to be able to diversify quite quickly and have that agile so that you can protect your bottom line and your top line as well. And that's why I mentioned that. Now, in South Africa, and I encourage you to operate throughout the world, especially because of technology. We're connected, we've got cloud, we've got all of these things, social medias, that you can actually sell a service anywhere in the world to any particular individual. And therefore, your biggest channel go to market is actually this. And especially in South Africa, where we've got 90%, 96% smartphone penetration in South Africa. And Musa is going to join us in a second to talk about how MTN is optimizing the cloud. And I'm going to throw you in this one, Musa, to talk about how you're reducing data bundles so that people can have access. But this, due to smartphone penetration, but this is essentially your biggest go-to-market. A lot of people are on this. If you go to your stats in terms of your usage of your phone, you'll find that people are using this close to 60, 70, 80% of the time. So they're on this thing. If you've got a product or a service, try to get it in front of someone through the mobile phone as well. I think due to time, there's a lot that I'd share coming up with this in terms of what other optimization in the digital era that one can do, but we'll have many of these webinars. So I'm gonna put a pin on it right now for this, and I'm sorry because I did have a few more slides, and I'm gonna hand over to our inimitable gentleman that knows a lot about technology, that knows a lot about cloud, to take us through the innovations that small businesses can leverage and take advantage of using technology as well. So I'm going to hand over to Mr. Musa Skosana from MTN to take us through that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Lindile. Thank you for this opportunity as well. Excuse me. Thank you very much for everybody that took the time to attend. I am going to take you through a couple of slides. These are basically what I believe would actually be very, very pivotal for a lot of SMEs or a lot of entrepreneurs in our organizations or in our country today. Okay. So basically what I wanted to touch on today, and very, very informative stuff that came from Lindile, and I'm going to actually cross-reference some of the points that he mentioned, because basically in an SME, you are really, really wearing many hats, right? There are a couple of pain points that we are looking to address. And in a lot of instances, cloud technology actually allows us to achieve a lot of these milestones, especially with the concept that Lindile actually mentioned when it comes to actually building your business model. So I'm going to touch on a couple of those in my slides as I actually elaborate my message to the audience. Okay, so I'm just going to touch on a few pain points that we've experienced or we have been shared with, or our customers actually made us aware of when it comes to pain points, when it comes to technology or cloud technology that is actually suited for SMEs, right? So the one thing that we actually believe when it comes to cloud technology, what we're trying to deliver to our SMEs is very much staying competitive in a very, very rapidly changing business landscape, right? Back to what Lindile said, we need to find ways to be agile and really very, very quickly adapt to the forever changing landscape that our businesses are actually facing, right? So a very, very, very important thing that our SMEs or our entrepreneurs need to be able to do is that they need to be agile. And there's quite a number of cloud technologies that are available that can actually help our SMEs to be agile. This is basically a few statistics that came from a couple of reports. I will share the links of the reports in the chat for you to actually go through for yourselves. These reports or this information was derived from a report that was derived from IDC, another report that was derived from PwC. I will share these in the chat just for anybody that feels the interest to read further in this, right? So basically these reports predict that 60% of our SMEs are actually expected to improve resiliency as well as agility by increasing artificial intelligence as well as analytics and also robotic process automation by 2023, which is literally next year, right? So back to Lindile's point again, right? There is a lot of opportunity that sits in the cloud that actually allows us to actually automate most of processes that are something that we actually do on a day-to-day basis. I know a lot of people, when they hear the word automation, they think like coding, DevOps or development or anything like that. The fortunate thing is that a lot of technology companies have actually found a way to actually allow this possibility with low code integration, as well as predefined templates that actually allow for automation for a lot of businesses day-to-day activities. So agility is a very, very key component thing that cloud technology can actually allow small businesses to achieve. And again, when it gets to customer experience, the reports that actually derived this information predict that 73% of people say that customer experience, including digital and human interactions, inform their buying decision. Right. So another point that Lindile actually touched on is that we need to find a way to make our customer experience very, very seamless, very, very quickly. And to his point again, transacting at the speed of cash, right, or at the speed of money. Right. So there is quite a number of technologies that sit in the cloud that can actually help you help your customers have a great experience through automation, through engagement with your systems, and actually delivering the service that your customers are looking for at a very, very rapid pace. Okay. Another very, very important thing that cloud technology allows our customers to achieve, or a tool that is actually very, very important for our customers, our SMEs, is that we actually encourage our customers to actually invest in, not actually invest actually, but also look into getting a technology that will give you efficient insights, right? Or insights and efficiency. So the reports that came from IDC and PwC stipulate that 50% of sales 50% of sales time is actually spent trying to win sales from targets who weren't a good fit for them in the first place, or from the start, right? So basically, in a lot of times, it's as if we are trying to fit a box in a circle hole. Does that make sense? So we're trying to make sure, we're trying to force feed our customers what we are actually bringing to the market, instead of actually understand what our customers need in order for them to actually buy quickly, or actually make the sales experience very, very smooth and very, very seamless, right? I was actually attending one of these SME conferences a couple of weeks back, where a simple thing such as selling a quota or a bunny chow in our neighborhoods is actually not only a business, but also solving a hunger issue in our communities, right? So if you can look at something like that, that is a very, very typical example of actually understanding your audience and actually delivering what their audience or your customers actually want. And then you can only actually achieve this if you have the appropriate information, or the appropriate systems that actually help you understand insights and make sure that you actually deliver efficiently. Okay. And then last but not least, and this is something that everybody is probably relating to, according to IDC and PwC, remote work is expected to be at 80% of, remote work is expected to be 80% of full-time workers expected to work from home at least 3 times per week after COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted. So as many of you know, and like for me today, I am actually working from home. And as an SME, you need to also be able to actually work from anywhere, right? Like to Lindile's point, using your cell phone is the biggest way to actually reach your customers, right? And then using your cell phone is the one thing that actually allows you to transact, engage, and actually execute on your daily tasks with your customers. The one thing, and I know that I hope I'm not actually saying too much, but what we are actually also focusing on at MTN is that we are actually allowing customers, or allowing SMEs, to actually get reduced data bundles or reduced rates for their business applications, right? So we are trying to actually come up with a way to actually allow customers that are transacting on these technology solutions on their cell phones to save data, right? So you'd actually have data dedicated to your collaboration platform. I'm trying my best not to mention names because basically that will be something that Lindile would actually have to worry about. But obviously we cannot just give these guys airtime, right? So there's a couple of collaboration applications that you can have on your cell phone. Some are freeware, some are actually corporateware, because basically if you are running an SME, you need to be able to be sure that you're actually collaborating and interacting with your customers on a safe and secure platform. As we all know, today in time, South Africa has actually enforced the regulation or the regulation of POPIA compliance, right? So for a lot of our customers that are actually transacting in the cloud or storing customer data, there is a very, very strict approach of making sure that our platforms are actually POPIA compliant. Right. So remote work is a big thing, but then we also need to be careful that when we're using our platforms or our collaboration platforms on our cell phones or even our tablets, we are making sure that we are actually still abiding by the regulations. Okay. So this is something that I'm also going to refer to what Lindile says. As an SME or as an entrepreneur, you are wearing many, many hats, right? And then you are actually dealing with like a web of information, a web of executions, a web of tasks, and a web of systems that you might need to build. Right. So you might be seeing a lot of things that I'm highlighting here, like a CRM or an ERP or an HR system or even a scheduling system. They're very, very interesting they're very, very interesting to know. A very, very interesting item to know about these kinds of systems is that when you hear the acronym CRM or ERP, it's no longer regarded as an enterprise solution. It's no longer regarded as a large organization type solution, right? Because when it comes to cloud technology, there is very, very vast options of what you can actually get from a CRM perspective, from even a scheduling system, right? I can actually give a typical example right now. Something that a lot of customers use for chatting is very, very popular. It's the blue one. I'm not going to mention the name. You can literally initiate a scheduling automation in that application as well. And then you don't even have to build it yourself. You don't even have to have infrastructure on premise in order for you to actually achieve this. And the automation processes already exist within the application. All you need to do is just activate it and actually allow the applications to be allocated to certain individuals within the organization. And then that will actually kick off an automation process, or what I call a workflow. Right. So in a lot of instances, our salespeople or our marketing agents, if you are in an SME, you probably are the salesperson as well as the marketing agent, or you are the finance agent as well as the supply chain agent. So you're wearing more than one hat, and you have to be able to actually execute on all of these tasks where automation or cloud technology can actually come in and actually help. In a lot of instances, our team members lose time with manual processes and disparate applications, as well as maybe face data errors and a lot of duplication if they have to work on a manual spreadsheet or anything like that. Or they even struggle to work remotely with colleagues and customers because they do not have the necessary systems in place or necessary applications in place. Right. And then there's also the situation where business leaders are looking for the need or have the need to better insight into their right business targets, right? So we always are looking to make sure that we are still following our vision and we are still actually pursuing what we had intended when we were building our initial business model. So some business leaders are also facing the lack of visibility across projects as well as business processes. There are quite a number of solutions that are available that can actually help you achieve these kinds of processes or actually give a business leader the visibility they need in order to understand how far their projects are going exactly and what else needs to be done. And some business leaders often work with inaccurate budgets and timelines. With this said, like there's a way that we can actually get a single pane of glass where you can actually view all of your budgets and actually work on your timelines as they are happening. So if your budget is adjusted due to a task that has been introduced, you can actually have lifetime or real-time information on basically how this can be handled using simple cloud technology. And then further to that, because we are all trying to service customers, most of our customers want a digital service and more personalized attention, right? That's why we get a lot of people that are using their mobile applications to even order food. And basically because you are ordering from a certain point or maybe or a certain point all the time, you actually get an opportunity to actually personalize the application and say, this is my couch, and then this is my office, or this is my desk. So you are actually the kinds of options that you get are literally personalized to your requirements or your whereabouts, right? Even if whatever is being suggested to you is based on what you normally interact with. That's actually refers to something called artificial intelligence, but this is actually a suggestive way to introduce options to your customers as well. Another thing that customers would love to experience is that they'd like to walk away when they can't get a timely, well, they tend to walk away when they don't get timely information. And that's why with cloud technologies, we all need to have some way of actually interacting with our customers. It could be on the phone, it could be as complex as a huge website, or it could be as simple as a small extranet that actually allows your customers to actually engage online and actually give you feedback on the engagements that they have with your business. Okay. Then, last but not least, a lot of customers also look towards, excuse me, a lot of customers also look towards actually getting consistent experience and make sure that everything that is delivered to them is basically delivered on a touch to deliver. So like what Lindile explained earlier on, when you're using your phone, you would like to get all of the information and make sure that you everything that you have ordered is actually delivered to you at a very, very rapid pace or as quick as possible. Okay. So what does your team need in order to actually achieve these kinds of solutions, right? So basically what we are suggesting is a cloud technology or a cloud company is that the team needs to be able to adapt to anything, right? So the team needs support for remote and mobile work to respond quickly from anywhere. As you all may know, a lot of SMEs travel a lot, and in order for you to reach your customers, you might actually need to travel to your customers, and that shouldn't stop you from actually executing on your day-to-day business or day-to-day tasks. Another thing that it will actually contribute to adapting to anything is that you need to innovate quickly and adopt to new business models. So as we all know, businesses evolve all the time, and then more and more opportunities actually are presented to businesses because customer needs grow on a day-to-day basis. Another very, very nice thing to have is we need to be able to get a holistic view of the business health as well as operations and for more strategic decisions, right? So this point of analytics, a lot of business intelligence is required in order for you to know exactly how healthy your business is and how quickly you can actually enhance your operations to make more decisions or more strategic decisions when it comes to evolving your business. Okay. Another thing that is actually a nice thing to have when you're actually working with your teams is that you need to be able to break through barriers. I know there's a lot of stigmas or stereotypes that are out there in the world, and basically one of the reasons we're having this kind of webinar is actually to help our customers or our small SMEs achieve or be able to break through the barriers that actually come along with actually starting a business. So what we're also suggesting in terms of cloud technology is that we need to find a way to eliminate data silos and connect information and people, right? So we are looking to have systems that talk to systems and make sure that the data is actually shared across all these systems to make sure that the people are actually received updated information and the information is actually reaching the people very, very quickly. And then another thing is that we need to be able to complete workflows without juggling multiple applications, right? A lot of companies are actually working very, very hard to give their customers or SMEs one single pane of glass that actually allows them to execute on a lot of day-to-day applications, right? We all know that as an SME, you do not want to be stuck working on like a routine task on a day-to-day basis. You are always looking to find an innovative way to actually deliver to your customers. So those kinds of tasks can actually be automated on a cloud platform that can even sit on your cell phone or your laptop. Because today in time, what we're trying to do is that we're trying to make sure that our customers have less infrastructure and more agility. Okay. And when I'm saying infrastructure, I'm talking about the big servers that we used to have back in the day that used to sit in our offices. And then further to that is that we are looking to have our teams be able to deliver more value on time and on budget, right? So we're trying to give our customers the best value with the right budget. We don't want to be overspending just to deliver a service to a customer, right? So with things like automation and workflows, then you know for sure that something is, whatever that you are delivering to your customers will definitely be delivered on time. And with automation, you actually remove the dependency of human error, right? So human error is least likely to happen if you have automated processes. Okay. And then just to create an impact faster, we need to be able to find ways to boost sales and customer satisfaction. And the easiest way to do that today is, again, from our mobile devices, right? We need to be able to interact online, on social media, or anything that can be in our customers' faces as much as possible, right? As we all know today, even the big organizations find themselves on social media trying to actually engage with their customers. Very, very important thing with that is that you need to find a way, which is actually available through cloud technology, to make sure that whatever engagements are happening on social media are actually fed back to your applications or to your systems internally, so that you can actually engage the customers from there. Okay. And that's a very, very nice thing to actually have, which is actually very, very much available. Another thing is that when you're trying to create a faster impact, is you need to be able to address opportunities as well as problems when they emerge, before they can actually impact the customers or the organization, right? And this speaks back to making sure that you have the right analytics, you have the right kind of systems in place to actually inform you of how your customers are engaging with your product and how they are actually receiving your product, so that you can actually anticipate how to actually improve the delivery of your service or your product. Okay. And further to that, in order to create a faster impact, you need to be able to effectively target customers and business opportunities, right? So like I mentioned earlier on, back in the day, when you hear an acronym like CRM or ERP, you think this is an enterprise solution. However, there are bundles or packages pre-packaged to actually suit an SME when it comes to those kind of systems. So basically, when your customers actually engage with your product, you can actually get the right target audience when you are engaging them, as well as making sure that they are, whatever they've ordered or whatever that they require from your product is actually delivered to them very, very quickly. Okay. I'm gonna finish off very, very quickly. I've got like 3 more slides, and these are the important messages that I think an SME should actually receive today. So we're trying to encourage more collaboration, right? So with more collaboration, we're trying to actually improve teamwork and respond faster from almost anywhere by seamlessly connecting your people, business processes, as well as customers to the Microsoft Cloud, for example. As you might know, in South Africa, Microsoft has actually deployed 2 data centers, making sure that our data is actually POPIA compliant, because one of the regulations is that for POPIA compliance, is that the information needs to sit within country. This is very, very important for a lot of legal firms, right? Small legal firms might be actually benefit from this very, very much. Okay. And then further to that, what we're trying to also increase or introduce is more productivity, right? We don't want anything to actually stop you from being productive, or actually maybe slow you down in terms of productivity. So with streamlined workflows and the ability to get more done with automated business processes and actionable insights delivered inside the productivity tools that you use every day. This is something that would actually easily sit on your mobile phone or even sit on your laptop, and you're actually able to monitor and actually execute from anywhere in the world or anywhere in South Africa. And then this is my last slide. We are actually looking to actually encourage businesses to make more impact by leveraging our cloud technologies, right? So we are actually helping customers optimize the customer journey and create a competitive advantage with a personalized, engaging experience at every touch point, from frontline all the way to fulfillment, right? So we're just trying to make sure that with whether you have got frontline agents, or even if your frontline agent is actually a website, we are actually helping you try and deliver and fulfill on your service as quickly as possible. And that is my last slide. Thank you very much, everyone. I think we've got about 7 minutes to take questions, Lindile.
Thank you very much for that, Musa. I thought that was an extremely insightful talk that talks about just the power of technology and how we as small businesses and entrepreneurs can leverage technology to further optimize our organizations, but most importantly, to deliver our value to our clients and continually grow our businesses through a variety of automation, cloud use, and all of those. And it ties in very well to the initial discussion we've had, Musa. So thank you very much for that insight. So let's take questions.
I see Lindile's question is that he would like to know what is the key indicator, financial or otherwise, that we use to determine if a business or idea is headed in the right direction or not.
From Vuyo Hlope. Vuyo,
Yes.
this is an absolutely amazing question. So there's a couple of things. So I also write about this in the book, Vuyo, in that an idea is a thought. So what one needs to do is to actually mature that thought into a business. And here's what is the best indicator. You remember I said before that an idea is just an idea, you're not in business. A product is just a product, you're not in business. So once you've established your value to your clients and you've built a business around that, and you make your first sale, that's your first indication that now you're in business. You're not in business before you've made a sale. You may have ideas, you may have products that are sitting on the shelves. So the first indicator, Vuyo, is you make a first sale. And what I usually tell people is that once you've made a first sale, one sale, you can then figure out how to make 10 sales. And once you've made 10 sales, you can figure out how to make 100 sales. And once you've made 100 sales, you can figure out how to make 1,000 sales, and so on and so forth. But your first indication that your idea is worth anything is someone is willing to take out money out of their pocket and pay for that value proposition. That's your first indication. Your second indication is the ability of that to happen multiple times over and over. Hence, I said 10, 100, 1,000, and so on. And that's the concept of exponential, the very name for our academy. So that's your first indication. But also you need to test it, and I mentioned this before, Vuyo, is that you need to do your market sizing. And not just at a high level, and not just do Matchbox, actually get the numbers and the insights that also Musa was talking about. In sizing your market is that, okay, if I can sell this to one person, how many people in this market have that same need? And that's where you now go into segmentation. You're also testing the scalability of your value proposition. One person has bought it, is that how many other people could potentially buy it, and who are these type of people? So you know how to customize your messaging and your marketing towards those very people that could buy it. That's also a way to test the market, to then say, oh, in this segment, I've got 2 million people that could possibly buy this. I've sold it to one. Out of those 2 million people that have the money, that have the persona, that have this, that could possibly buy this, I just need a certain percentage of that market. And therefore, how do I do that? So that's the second test. The third test is, who are the other people that are doing the same thing that I'm doing? Who are the other companies that are doing that? And how much of the market do they have? Because out of the 2 million that are available people that could possibly buy this, some other people may be selling the very same thing to those people. So if they hold a market position of 15%, 20%, how much is the available market? And how much of the ones that have already bought from those could I possibly take is another indicator. So great, then you're sizing your market and your propensity to convert. It must be realistic, and you must be very hard on yourself when you're doing that market sizing as well as that segmentation. This is where you design your personas and all of that, so you know exactly who that person is, that this value that you have, you're going to sell it to. And if as I said before, if it's a mature market, it's difficult for you to get that growth. So it must still have legs in it for you to test that it's actually an exponential idea that you have. So it's those three lenses. You can sell it to one person. Number two is knowing how many people could possibly buy it. Number three is how many other people or organizations are there selling the same thing, and how much of that market do they have? So what's your reasonable opportunity to sell this? If it's still a lot after you've done that, then you know that you've got a market. Then further to that, operationally, what you need to do is, I don't know what your product is or your service is to then test, have outside of financial indicators, is to have levers of growth, your lead indicators. And I call these the levers of growth, which is your lead indicators. I see we're running out of time, and your lead indicators are what are your daily sales, or your weekly sales, or your monthly sales, which is your new business that you're coming in. How much are you retaining out of the clients that buy from you? And the third lever is your average revenue per buyer for each buyer. These are your three main indicators that you have. If you worry about these things and you do well with them, it'll lead to revenue. You don't even have to worry about revenue if you worry about your activity rate that leads to new clients, that leads to protecting the existing clients, as well as your average revenue per each buyer that you've got. Those are the main indicators that you then need outside of financial. They then lead to your financial indicators. I hope that answers you, Vuyo. Any other questions, guys? We know that we've run out of time. We're 40 seconds over, but we're willing to take in any other questions that you may have. If you also press for time and you need to run, you can drop us questions in a note, and in our next newsletter that we will publish and issue, we'll answer all of those questions that we couldn't answer in this particular webinar as well. But just a couple of other things that for you to get access to even more information like this, you can buy the book that's called The Young Entrepreneur's Playbook, Using Failure as a Shortcut to Success. You can get it through my website, which is called lindilexoko.com, lindilexoko.com. So name and surname together, LINDILEXOKO.com. You've got a section there where you can possibly buy the book, or you can go to any exclusive books, you can buy that, and other actually bookstore retailers, you can buy that, or you can access some courses through that very same website link that I've given you. I see we've got another question here from our viewer Kawe. Can an SMME focus on diversifying and focus on gaining market share at the same time? Another great question, our viewer. Absolutely. So once as a small business, and a small business is not a definition that one can define themselves forever. So if you've got a product and as a small business, you're selling that product, and you know that that product is growing at a fast rate, and your indicator of diversification is high growth, before that growth retards and slows down all the way, because you'll already be too late to diversify and look for other revenue streams if your decline is doing that, because that means that you'll be too focused on trying to save as much revenue as you can. So the first indicator, our viewer, that you must now start to diversify is if you've got double-digit growth and your business is growing fast, and you have the ability of scaling up in order to catch that for your business. That's when you now must start innovating and start to think of other revenue streams. And how you can do that in your small organization is you've got your teams that are looking after your business as usual. And then you must have either you as the owner and the founder of the business, you're looking at horizons, you're looking at the future of your business. And some of that could be your existing growth, but some of that could be diversification. And that's why you are there. As an entrepreneur, I then encourage you to then look at horizons, but hire a strong enough team that can focus on business as usual, which is revenue today. So revenue today, and then revenue for tomorrow, and then revenue for the day after tomorrow. As an entrepreneur and as a founder, as a CEO and MD of your organization, you must be able to think of horizons while your business is ticking here, because you've got a strong enough team to do that. That's why I go back to then say, capacitate yourself, get the right skills in the organization to make sure that your horizons are protected. Your revenue today is protected. It's somewhere there, so that you as the founder or the entrepreneur can look at the forward horizons in terms of how you can grow your business and diversify into other revenue streams. There's another question here in terms of Tafatso and Chika. And Tef, this speaks to what most people advise in terms of focus, that yes, you must focus in early stages of your business. And I agree with that. And your question is it advisable to diversify in early stage business? Now you must determine, right? In too early stages, I wouldn't necessarily advise it. If your rhythm of the business and your cadence is not in place yet, I wouldn't advise it, because you'll be taking your eye off something that's not already ticking. So I then define this like this: run rate as well as transformational business. Your run rate business is your business that comes daily. It's like a stock exchange. It keeps on coming. It's your daily run rate. It continues to tick. So if you're at a stage that your run rate is taking care of a large portion of your targets for the month, for the quarter, for the year, upwards of 80 to 90% is taken care of by your run rate, and that even in early stage, and that's ticking quite well, you will now need to build your capability of chasing and fetching more revenue. This is why, even at an early stage, if you've achieved that, now you must start to look at other horizons and activating those before the wave that you're riding tapers off. And that's what I say, that diversification is key. So look at your growth, look at your cadence. Before you taper off that growth, you must already have other diversifications in terms of value propositions or segments. And diversification is in multiple fold, right? You can diversify a customer segment, that if you're selling to customer A and that's going well, you must now start to look for other customer sets, other segments that you can possibly sell to grow. That's another form of diversification. So TEF, even at an early stage, you can start to do that. Or diversify products. Once you think you've kept your segments and they're growing quite well, you can even start to diversify products, or to even find other clients, or even cross-sell that product into your existing customer base that you've got. So it's you can assess that I've got the rhythm and I've got the growth, and therefore I can diversify a customer segment, or I can even diversify value proposition as well, at any stage, as long as you've got those elements. Diversification is not a question of time. It's a question of rhythm, cadence, as well as growth as well. Any questions? Any other questions? I still have a few minutes. I can still take a question or two. Any questions for Musa on the technology side? There are none that are coming through right now. I therefore think, as I've suggested, if there are any questions, you can post them, and these will be answered in our next webinar. And all of you that have come through today to attend this webinar, newsletter rather, that newsletter will be sent out, and all of your questions will be answered. But all is to say from my side, thank you very much for everyone for taking the time to come and listen to these insights from this webinar that's called Unlocking Entrepreneurship in the Digital Age. I hope you found this quite insightful. I did mention that we'll also have a series of these webinars where we're trying to provide insight and educating you as the small business owner, as the entrepreneur, or even as a person that's in corporate looking for ideas or how you can be effective in your role or your side hustle. And we're looking forward to having you in our next webinar. So thank you very much for this evening. We've enjoyed having you and having this chat with you. Cheers, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.